Older adults are more likely to experience abuse or neglect from family members. According to the National Council on Aging, approximately 5 million older Americans are victims of abuse or neglect annually. Additionally, 10% of adults over the age of 65 have experienced some form of abuse. Risk factors affecting caretakers: history of family conflict, history of violence, history of substance abuse, mental impairment, severe financial problems, physical exhaustion, mental fatigue. When caregivers lack resources, stamina, or knowledge to care for someone, it can lead to unintentional abuse or neglect. Types of abuse: physical abuse, psychological or emotional abuse, financial abuse, neglect, abandonment. Physical abuse is any action that inflicts physical pain or injury. Examples of physical abuse include locking an older adult in a room against their will, misuse of medication, force feeding, physical restraints, sexual abuse or rape by the caregiver or family, hitting, kicking, burning, or dragging. Warning signs of physical abuse. Warning signs can include bruises, lacerations, broken teeth or glasses, sprains, fractures, burns, multiple wounds at different stages of healing, unexplained injuries, torn or bloody undergarments, signs of vaginal trauma, missed doctor's appointments, frequent changes in healthcare providers, and caregivers refusing visitors. Neglect is considered a passive form of abuse. It occurs when caregivers fail to provide necessary care, leading to harm or distress for the older person. Neglect can be intentional or unintentional, but it always results in a lack of essential care and support for the individual in need. Examples of neglect include failing to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, medical care, or assistance with daily activities. Warning signs of neglect: dehydration, malnutrition, untreated bed sores or pressure injuries, and poor personal hygiene. Unaddressed or neglected health concerns: threatening or unsafe living conditions such as damaged wiring, absence of heat or air conditioning, or lack of running water. Unsanitary and unclean living environments such as infestations, soiled bedding, strong odor of feces or urine, lack of clothing. Emotional abuse is difficult to recognize because of its subtlety. Emotional abusers can use both verbal or nonverbal forms of abuse. Examples of emotional abuse: shouting or voicing threats of punishment or confinement. Actions demonstrating disgust, displeasure, frustration, or anger, such as slamming the door or shaking their heads. Signs of emotional abuse: feeling emotionally upset or agitated, becoming very withdrawn, non-communicative or responsive, observing a caregiver controlling or isolating an older adult, fluctuations in sleeping patterns or eating habits, experiencing personality changes such as unwanted apologizing, suffering from depression or anxiety. Financial abuse. This occurs when the financial resources of the older adult are stolen or misused by a person they trust. Example of financial abuse: caretakers or family spends all of the older adult's savings, leaving no funds left to pay for their rent or necessities. Signs of financial abuse. Unusual banking activities such as out of the normal purchases or withdrawals that don't align with the older adult's needs. Missing checks or bank statements. Unauthorized withdrawal from ATM. Forged signatures on checks or withdrawal tickets. Unexplained transfers. Actions to protect financial assets. Establish direct deposit. Select a power of attorney with care. Safeguard PIN numbers and passwords to prevent unauthorized access. Retain written agreements outlining expectation services provided and fees. Store valuables in a safe deposit box. Treat home helpers or attendants as employees and pay them according to the agreement, and offer gifts for special occasions instead of tips. When a caretaker or responsible party deserts a dependent older adult, leaving them physically, emotionally, and financially defenseless. These dependents usually become wards of the state. Responses to abuse. In most cases, the abused will not complain to others or make reports for fear of being left alone, losing their independence, abandoned, or institutionalized. If you suspect abuse based on these signs, consider speaking with the older adult in a private room about their current situation. Approach the conversation tactfully to avoid offending them. All information will be kept confidential and shared only with authorized personnel and the authorities. Detailed records of the incident should be maintained and may include photographs of wounds, injuries, and living conditions. It is important to report abuse as soon as possible to your local APS office by completing Form SOC 342. Together, we can make a difference.